What would America look like in the very near future, or any Western nation, with no colleges or universities? Would we be able to pass on the necessary skills to future generations for them to be able to maintain our current technologies and infrastructure? I don't know. But I'm wondering about that, and the reason I'm wondering about it is because our institutions of higher education are failing. They're falling apart rapidly right in front of us in real time. I don't think they're going to be here in the future. So what would that future look like? And the really bad part is it isn't just institutions of higher education. All of our institutions are failing right now in the West. And we can see this in a current trend. People are turning away from the institutions that they can no longer trust, and they're turning to individuals that they do trust. So mainstream media, it's collapsing right now. And it's not because of changes in technology. Well, in an indirect way, I guess it is, but people are turning away from the brands like Fox News and CNN and NPR and MSNBC and NBC and all of the newspapers. People are abandoning those brands because they no longer trust them. And then they're turning to individuals that they do trust for information, like Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson. Okay? And we can go as deep on this as you want to go. The United States government. Why do so many of you that don't understand Trump, why do you think Trump is so popular? That's why. A few weeks ago, I started thinking about brands, companies and organizations, and why so many brands now are dead or dying, and many seemingly having committed suicide. Bud Light. Okay, but then it occurred to me that all of these individual brands, they're what make up our institutions. Okay, so Harvard University, great example. It's a dead brand now. Now, I know the people at Harvard don't realize this, but it is. And the reason I say that, okay, completely forgetting all of the nonsense going on with the president of Harvard, or ex-president now, excuse me, look at the students. Okay, not very long ago, there were students from Harvard that were protesting in support of Hamas and supporting the genocide of Jewish people in Israel. That's what they were doing when they were chanting from the river to the sea. Okay, well, I've heard some people say, well, they were just young kids. They don't know what they were saying. Okay, so we got two options here. Option A, they're stupid. I mean, if you're protesting for something and you don't even know what you're protesting for, you're stupid. Okay, that's not a good look for a university. Okay, second option, they're evil. I mean, if you're protesting in support of terrorists indiscriminately killing women and children, and then you're supporting genocide of the people that were being terrorized, you're evil. Okay, that's where we're at now with Harvard, with some of the students. Okay, now I'm sure there are some really wonderful students at Harvard and other Ivy League schools that have morals, values, they're super smart, hardworking, everything you could want from a young person. It doesn't matter though. In the past, what gave that diploma from Harvard value is anybody could look at it and they know, okay, you graduated from Harvard, you've got morals, you're smart, you're hardworking. That diploma let everybody know you're not evil and stupid. That's what gave it value. It doesn't do that anymore. It's suspect now. All right, so anybody looking at that diploma, are you one of the stupid ones? Are you one of the evil ones? Or are you one of the good ones? Who knows? All right, and in the future, who's going to want to go to a school like that? Applications are already down for Harvard, but it's really fixing to go down now. Who wants to be associated with that? So yeah, it's a dead brand. We're talking about a university here, the pinnacle, the preeminent university in the United States is a dead brand now. Along with so many of the other Ivy League schools, they're all suspect now. Most of the colleges and universities in the country are suspect. All right, so Yeah, colleges and universities, the future isn't looking good. And of the two options, were they stupid or evil, I'm inclined to believe the latter. And the reason I say that is because this whole woke ideology itself is evil, and we can see that in other brands. Woke Disney. Okay, this is a great example here. Woke Disney, it's a dying brand. I can't say it's dead yet, but it's definitely dying. Their stocks plummeted in value. They're producing flop after flop. And people don't want to see their content that they're producing now. They're not producing good content. Again, that's not good for a media company. And that's not just my opinion, that's the opinion of all of the people that aren't paying to go see their content. Okay, what happened there? What happened was their values changed. And Disney, woke Disney, seems to have forgotten, or really wants to forget, that it was created by Walt Disney. Walt Disney is who made Disney what it is, or what it was. Okay. He would be the first person to be fired at the Disney of today. He's the wrong color, he's the wrong gender, and he has the wrong values. His values would be problematic. I hate that term. But anyway, well, those are the values that made Disney great. Snow White. Okay, that was Disney's first feature-length film, and it was an absolute huge success. Walt Disney was given an honorary Oscar that year, 1937, and it was one full-size statue with 7 miniature statues, and it was presented to him by Shirley Temple. People loved the movie. Okay, well, that's because that movie was based on traditional values, traditional archetypes of purity and good and evil. Things that go to the heart of what it means to be human. And that's one of the story itself, the story of Snow White. It was first published in 1812 by the Brothers Grimm. And it had existed for who knows how many generations. It's just a story before it was written down. So it truly is a timeless story. All right, why did Disney feel like they needed to change it? And they just did. They did a remake of Snow White. And I'm guessing a lot of you have heard about the disaster that's turned into. Disney's terrified of releasing that now. They keep pushing out the release date, and because people found out that they did change it. Okay, well, who was the only person in Snow White, the only character in the story that would want to change the story? The evil queen. What's that say about Disney, that they all of a sudden felt compelled to change the story? They're evil now. That's the reason they redid the story and so many others, is they can't produce original content that people want to see now, because they're completely out of touch with what good is now. All right, so they're redoing the old stuff and they're butchering it. They're trying to remake it into their image. Now, I'm not saying Walt Disney was a perfect human being, but he went with values that were just universal to humans and have been around. Again, they're timeless. Okay, those values are what made Disney great. And if woke Disney decides those values are now problematic, and that they've got to go and they've got to do their best to destroy those old traditional values, they're going to destroy the company. They're going to destroy what made it great. Right, now look at how many other organizations are doing the exact same thing. United States government. Okay, and here's the kicker. People never did trust institutions, brands. People trust individuals. Okay, the United States government. Nobody ever trusted the United States government. They trusted George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, the founders. Okay, well, we've got woke individuals now that all of a sudden they can't stand the founders of this great nation. So they've got to do everything they can to discredit them, to degrade them, to cancel them. All right, so the people who've never done a damn thing in their life but bitch and moan, all of a sudden they've got a problem with people from the past that did do great things. So they feel a need to destroy that. I don't know if it's out of envy, jealousy, or what. Okay, well, if you go after those individuals, if you destroy those individuals and their values, then you destroyed the values that made this country, that make our government, that the reason our government has endured as long as it has. All right, well, how many people in our government right now, how many U.S. citizens are actively trying to destroy those values? All right, our institution of government's not going to last like this. This is every one of our institutions right now. And we can go as far down this rabbit hole as you want to. Religion. All right, the brands would be the different denominations that are churches here in the United States. What's happening to all of those brands? They're dead or dying. All right. Well, Christianity, it goes back to an individual, Jesus Christ. People never followed religion and Christianity. They followed Jesus, and then they followed his disciples. And in the future for religion, we'll be turning to individuals. But this does come with its own risks. People turning away from institutions and to individuals is nothing new. Rome. The Republic of Rome ended when Julius Caesar became emperor. And since I've been thinking about this, I got to wondering, did the people turn to Julius Caesar because they could no longer trust the institutions, the Senate? And my guess would be yes. I'm guessing that's what happened. Okay. And no, Donald Trump is not going to be the end of the Republic here in the United States. What's going to be the end of the Republic here in the United States is just all of the corruption and lack of transparency and complete dishonesty. Past 3 years, how much trust was absolutely destroyed in the West by all of our institutions? Who trusts their doctors now? Who trusts the healthcare community? Who trusts the National Institute of Health now? Who trusts our government now? The same government that was, oh, you got to get this or shot or you're going to get fired from your job. And then it's, oh, no, we never said you had to do that. Seriously. And that's the problem with institutions. There are no individuals in institutions. We don't know the individuals. We just know the institutions so they can hide behind the institutions they're in. All right, so there's no accountability. With an individual, there's accountability. Well, we've got a complete lack of accountability now within all of our institutions, which is why they're so corrupt and just so incompetent. Again, events of the last 3 years, yeah, your children need that shot too. Yeah, but this doesn't affect children. It doesn't matter, and get them their boosters too. I'm not even going to get started on that. That's the direction we're going in right now, though. We're turning to individuals, and rightfully so at the moment. All right. So what's the future going to look like without these institutions? Now, don't get me wrong. They can hang on for a lot longer. I mean, there's all kind of authoritarian things they could do to maintain power, but it's not going to last. It never does. Soviet Union. Communist China will collapse before this is over. I mean, that's just the nature of things. All right. But assuming they don't go all out full authoritarian, their history. They're already dying. Now, are new individuals going to come along to create new institutions to replace them? Or I can't see reform happening with the institutions that are there. I can't see people that currently have no accountability all of a sudden saying, yeah, well, we need accountability here. And this can happen a lot quicker than we think. This isn't near as far-fetched as it sounds. Okay, colleges and universities. Okay, that might sound far-fetched. They're not going to be here in the future. How many kids right now are seriously struggling with whether or not they should go to college because it just costs them so much? The price of college now is just stupid. A lot of kids are deciding not to. Well, what happens when more and more decide not to? What happens when the diplomas lose their value, which they're rapidly doing? And it was ironic. I just saw a thing today. It was by PragerU on Instagram, and it was half of all U.S. companies say that they're going to stop requiring a bachelor's degree. And then it just went into statistic after statistic on how colleges are just imploding at the moment. And then look at all the people right now with student loan debt and the issues they're struggling with. Okay, and now the rest of us that didn't get degrees are supposed to bail them out. And keep in mind, there are privileges that we the people gave to universities and to the students that graduated from there with those degrees. There's an understood social agreement, that unspoken, that exists between all of us. Okay, and that's those privileges that we granted them. And a good example is doctors. Okay, doctors are well paid, have a pretty good job, high social status, and they earned it. Okay, they worked really hard to graduate from medical school. It's extremely expensive, and they continue to work hard. Right? But they aren't brick masons. They're not construction workers. They're not going to wear their bodies out by the time they're 50. All right, well, the deal society made with doctors is, okay, you're really smart and you're talented. You go put in the work, get this education, and you're not going to have to work like the rest of the people, and we'll make sure you're paid really well. Okay, and that worked out for everybody because we all benefit from good doctors. All right, so that was the deal. And a lot of you are saying, no, doctors make more because of supply and demand. There aren't many with a medical degree, so therefore that increases what they're worth, so therefore they get paid more. That's nonsense. Okay, what we have isn't a shortage of doctors. We have an intentional shortage of doctors. The AMA, the American Medical Association, started as a labor union. And what they did was convince states to pass laws saying nobody can practice medicine except for people that are certified. And anybody that does practice medicine, the states will literally arrest them and charge them. Okay, so what we did was we gave doctors their own monopoly on their profession so that they could increase their wages. They can control how many doctors there are, or doctors, the whole medical community, because universities are a big part of this. All right, well, what happens when young people say, well, it's just not worth it to become a doctor now, and they quit going to medical schools? Or when the people say, all right, here's our options. Doctors, certified doctors, or no doctors. Okay, well, after the events of the past 3 years, a lot of us are thinking, you know, we might be better off without the damn doctors. Trust evaporates that quickly, and once our trust in institution, once it's gone, it's gone. And so is the institution. That's what allows them to exist. Okay, and just to show you how quickly this can happen, the Soviet Union, when it collapsed. Okay, well, how deep in debt is the United States government right now? $34 trillion in debt. Y'all know what that means, don't you? All of you right now, all of you young people that are struggling with your student loans, you're going to get to pay back that $34 trillion. And you can't even pay back your student loans. This whole thing's ready to implode right now. That's how quickly it can go, and that's how quickly our institutions can disappear. And again, just ask the people that lived in the former Soviet Union, ask the Russians. And for them, that's how they ended up with Putin. They needed somebody they could trust, and they do trust him. All right. Generally, Putin is very well thought of in Russia. And of course, there's some people opposed to him, but those people don't last long. They tend to disappear and fall off of bridges and out of windows and stuff. But the majority of people do support him. Okay, so anyway, that's just how quick it can happen. That's the direction we're going in really quick here in the West. And I'm right back to wondering, what's that future going to look like without institutions here? Now, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom here, and I hope it didn't seem that way. We might end up with new institutions that are far superior to anything we have now. Maybe they learn lessons from our current corrupt institutions, and they make changes so that they're transparent and honest, and so that they don't become corrupt. Maybe we end up with A new Socrates training, a new Plato training, a new Aristotle, and new institutions of higher education that are far superior to anything we have now. Maybe we get a government that protects its borders and its citizens. Anything's possible here. But this is definitely a trend we all need to be watching closely. People turning to individuals and away from the institutions. And we need to make sure that the institutions don't become totalitarian while they try to hold on to power. All right, so keep an eye out for this, because we're going to see a lot more of it, because this is something that is occurring right now in real time. All right, God bless and have a great day.